There are a number of factors that are happening right now that I think will increase the scale for programmatic and streaming. One of those is the consistency and passing of signals. So right now, we launched OpenRTB 2.6 a couple of years ago, and that introduced a lot of new capabilities, and that included new types of signaling that can be sent, consistent taxonomies, and really enabled new support for ad podding. But one of the things that really helps scale is adopting a lot of these signals that have been introduced in the taxonomies. If someone were to pass a content signal yesterday, and this is something that we talked about on the panel, like a consent signal, if one person passes the consent signal, but not everyone has adopted all of this consistently in the taxonomies, then the consent signal is missed. And so you miss out on a number of impressions that could have taken place. So it really requires everyone in the industry to collaborate together to adopt these signals. It also increases transparency as well, which I think is another thing that is holding back some of the programmatic spend in streaming, is the not being able to understand what you're bidding on, what inventory a media owner is offering, show level, content, genre, channel, things like that. And I think that provides some hesitation from buyers to make sure that they understand what they're bidding against in transparency. And so with adopting these signals, with providing that transparency, I think we'll see a lot more scale in streaming.
Indeed. Transparency in programmatic display continues to be something that concerns advertisers. Do you think that streaming TV can give them comfort?
I think so, if these things are adopted. And programmatic from the early days, I think I referenced OpenRTB 2.6, but the last time 2.5 was released was in December of 2016, many, many years ago. And so those same standards were applied to streaming TV. And we've been leveraging those standards these past few years. And with the rise of adoption for streaming TV, then we're seeing a lot of those things really break. It doesn't work in that type of environment. We've definitely done a much better job at increasing transparency in programmatic web display, but I think there's a long way to go in streaming TV for us to really fully realize the adoption of all of these signals in a consistent way, for us to see more of that scale. And I think the other sort of hurdle that we have to get over is the comparison to linear TV, where the way linear TV has been bought and sold for many years is through the trust, the handshake, if you will, between brands and buyers and the media owners. And so when done programmatically, we're seeing the majority of spend going through deals still, even though that's done programmatically, and less in the open market.
Great. And another thing that is concerning advertisers is the quest to reduce carbon output. Increasingly, advertisers are keen to quantify their carbon output when it comes to advertising. What will it take to help them do that when it comes to streaming TV?
There are a number of factors, I think, and it depends on where you sit within the ecosystem in terms of reduction. I think we're seeing on the production side, we're members of AdNet Zero, and so there's a specific working group that looks at content production itself. If you think about what it takes to produce advertising, especially video advertising, and the brands and the agencies and the talent that needs to come in the equipment, that's one side of it that we don't touch as much, being on the programmatic side as an exchange. I think from what we're obsessed with, what we think a lot about is the consumption and the power that's used to make those signals. It's all hitting the data centers. It's hitting a lot of where we see most of the energy expended from a programmatic perspective. And so that's what we're really focused on and looking at. One of the features or capabilities that came out as part of OpenRTB 2.6 was the support for ad podding. And this is significant. And we launched a test earlier this year in combination with Publica, The Trade Desk, and Scope 3, and saw that there was an 84% reduction in carbon emissions when using the new way of ad podding versus using the old spec. And the reason for that is that it sends a single bid request for the ad break, instead of what happens now, which is sending out multiple requests, because you can divide an ad break, if it's 120 seconds, in numerous ways, and all of those previously had been sent out independently. And then that's multiplied by the number of SSPs, by the number of DSPs, and then it returns back to then be displayed. And so that's a ton of carbon emissions when you add all of those things up, and then you multiply it by the number of users that are streaming, by the number of ad breaks that are within a single piece of content. And so that 84% is representative of what could be if we start to apply more of these standards to make sure that we are being as efficient as possible with what we send.
And just lastly, it's been a busy couple of days at this conference. People from all around the world talking about the future of TV advertising. What do you think the mood here says about what 2024 will be like?
There's a lot of focus.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that was I was stricken by yesterday is how quickly I think the industry has come together in the rise and reaction to the rise of streaming TV over the past couple of years. I think no one expected consumers to adopt streaming TV as quickly as they did through the pandemic. And it almost has created this sort of rush to collaboration and rush to start talking about with each other, how do we move from point A to point B, whether that's moving from linear to streaming TV or whether that's thinking about digital in different ways and applying it towards a streaming TV channel. I think that the focus here has been really interesting. There's all parts of the ecosystem have been present and different parts of the world, as you mentioned. There's lots of folks from Europe, not just the UK, and from the US that have attended. So it's been really exciting to see the progress that's being made.